tested its long-awaited subscription model to give its creators a predictable income. This was disclosed in a video posted by Adam Mosseri, head of Instagram. He says subscriptions will allow creators to develop deeper connections with their most engaged followers and grow their recurring monthly income. Take a listen.
Subscriptions on Instagram. At the beginning of the year, I said we're going to build primarily for teens and for creators, and subscriptions are for creators. Now, creators do what they do to make a living, and it's important that that is predictable. And subscriptions are one of the best ways to have a predictable income, a way that is not attached to how much reach you get on any given post, which is inevitably going to go up and down over time. So this first version is a test here in the US, relatively small number of creators, and 3 major integrations. The first is stories. So creators are going to be able to go live just to their subscribers, and you can get exclusive access to those stories. They'll be marked with a purple ring so you know that it's just for you. The second is subscriber lives, so a creator can go live just to their subscribers. And the third is you'll get a subscriber badge, a little purple indicator, so the creator knows that you're a subscriber when they see you in comments, in DMs, or anywhere else across Instagram. Now, over time, we hope to expand these features because it's important that subscriptions are integrated throughout the entire Instagram experience. We also believe that creators should own their relationship with their subscribers. So we're working on ways that creators can take their subscriber list and bring them off of Instagram to other apps and websites built by other companies. Anyway, check it out if you see it. We're going to be growing it hopefully over the next couple of months, but starting with a very small number of creators to start. But we're very excited about this important step. See you next week. Peace.
Africa-focused venture capital firm TLCom has announced the first close at $70 million for its new $150 million Africa-focused tech fund. TLCom says it will use the new fund to expand its existing focus on fast-growth, tech-enabled African startups to Egypt, as well as strengthen its long-standing presence across East and West Africa. And Uber Nigeria has announced its 2-wheeler service, Uber Moto, which will commence operations in the city of Ibadan, the commercial capital of southwestern Oyo State. Stiff competition with Uber as other ride-hailing motorcycle services from Safeboda, Opera's Oride, Gokada, and Max.ng already operate in Ibadan. Joining me to discuss this further in our Lagos studios here is Fisayo Droja, an investment professional with Echo VC Partners, and of course, in our Abuja studios, technology analyst Victor Equelo Jr. Good morning, gentlemen. Let's take a ride. Should we go to Ibadan first with this ride?
Yeah.
It would have a good one. Let me start with you here. What's the thoughts from both of you on how competition for the market share is playing out between multiple players in the ride-hailing business? It looks like we have 200 million people to move around, and we've got to move them around.
Yep.
So do you think competition is stiff already? There's still a whole lot more space for everyone to fly?
I mean, there's just a lot of ride-hailing startups already in Ibadan because, of course, Lagos is not open for bike-hailing, at least as at the last check. But again, I was talking to someone recently, and I was asking the special advisor to the governor on media, are bikes still banned in Lagos because they are back on the road, right? But that's a conversation for another day. Looking specifically at Ibadan, around, we see Max, we see Gokada, we see Safeboda, we see Oride, we see all of this, and then of course Uber is going to join them in the same space, right? So competition is going to be very stiff in that space, and I think that, of course, Uber should be prepared for that. They have to spend money and do all of that. But I think the biggest challenge is that how will the government respond, to the number of bikes that they have on the road? If I look at many major cities, most cities that I know of don't, have this they prefer mass transit versus, having just 2-wheelers that can move one person at a time. So how would the government respond to that, even in Oyo State? It's still up for the jury to decide. But right now, 5 of them are just logging it out there, and I'll see, let the better man win, I guess.
I think Ibadan is big enough and spacious and big enough to accommodate everyone. It's just about traffic issues and all of that. Victor, give me your thoughts here very quickly.
Okay, I think it's a very interesting thing that has happened. I remember the first entrance into the market was Safeboda, and they got into the market even before Lagos conclusively banned motorcycles. Your question, is the market big enough for everybody to compete in? It's both yes and no. Because like the population is there, like you said, there are 200 million people to move around. But also there are alternative and way cheaper means of transportation that like the people have gotten used to over time. And coming with these new services, excuse me, smartphone apps and all that kind of stuff to move, it's basically trying to change consumer behavior. And this is not something that is very easy to do. So yes, the market is there, but is it ready to be disrupted by these people is another question that time will answer, to be very honest, because I don't know for sure.
Very interesting. Again, I thank you, Fisher, because again, when you look at a city like Ibadan and the nature of our economy, Ibadan is huge with very big, a big city with huge informal economy in which people move agricultural produce, hard. So when you talk about the mass transportation, I don't know how many bags of tomato you can move in a three-wheeler, by the way.
Two-wheeler.
Two-wheeler, sorry. So it's going to be really tough. So in terms of changing who wants to move around with a two-wheeler and who needs a normal form of transportation, vehicles and buses and the type that we use to move agro and agro products around from one destination to the other.
I mean, here, right, Ibadan has a couple of universities already, so young people, and of course, have you been to Ibadan recently? The traffic in the city is getting bigger, right? And of course, it means that people are looking for faster means of moving. And of course, the younger people will probably just jump on a bike and move, right? So that we see a lot of young people trying to adopt that already, you know, moving from a place like Challenge to UI, you know, just get on the bike and move straight rather than trying to manage through a lot of traffic across your way, right? So I think that the adoption is going to be more from the younger people right there in the city. And of course, I think the other thing that I need to be careful of is around safety. I remember when Governor Fashola banned bikes in Lagos the last time. He mentioned some number, I can't remember the number now. It was like the number of cases of accident at the orthopedic hospital here in Lagos reduced drastically from the month that bikes were banned. So here, the government needs to figure out how do we ensure that, yes, the safety of both the rider and, of course, the passenger is
kept.
Exactly. You know, and, of course, because this is now, you know, more organized bike hailing, because these are, you know, Uber, you know, Safeboda, all of that, they might have to get involved in training their riders to know, okay, do not overtake from the right, because that is annoying. It annoys me every time when I see a bike guy trying to overtake me from the right, when it's easier to overtake from the left, you know, obey traffic laws, all of the issues, because they don't stop for traffic lights. Again, these are issues that bike you know, riders have figured out, you know, all of that.
Compliance is another thing, enforcement is another thing.
Is a big
the
issue.
whole three layers. Oftentimes you get a training, compliance, and enforcement becomes the underbelly. I'm not sure if we always get that right. So do you think this expansion, Victor, do you think regulation is the biggest hurdle, or in terms of enforcing those regulations that the authorities will bring to bear?
To be very honest, I think there's a lot of opacity when it comes to regulations, right? There's a lot of opacity. There's a lot of like one-sidedness, not taking the players in the market into consideration. So yes, regulation to a very large extent, but like most of these players are not even exactly sure what regulations they should be looking out for, what regulations are in place. Fisaya said something when we started talking. He said he asked somebody in Lagos if her bike's been unbanned, because they're all over the place. So can ride-hailing startups...
So if you want to set up a business, the first thing you should ask for is regulation. You don't set up a business and then ask what the regulation is. Then you're not a good businessman.
Well, very true. You are very correct. Except like how Fisayo said, bikes were banned, right? But like there is no announcement that has come out to say, oh, bikes have been unbanned. But like motorcycles...
If you want to set up the business, just find out first. For example, if you want to set up a bank, you're going to ask around if Central Bank is still giving licenses before you go look for 25 billion naira.
Very correct. You're very correct.
So I think anyone who's setting up a business, the first thing you ask is what regulation applies in this sector. Of course, again, you have others who are doing the business already. So regulation is important. We can't be opaque with regulation. But if you're setting up business, you must be ready for regulation. Now, what about compliance and enforcement? Victor.
So to a very large extent, right, I think where I'm speaking from generally around this whole regulation and compliance is from context, right? The long tussle that happened in Lagos before the ban occurred. Yes, to answer your question more directly, I feel like compliance and enforcement is not going to exactly be an issue because these players are coming into the market and to a very large extent, they will have to stick to rules because unlike the informal players that already exist here, they have companies, they have books, they have records to keep, they have reports to make. So it's a lot easier for them to stick on the side of compliance, of rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, to a very large extent, yes, I mean, if they do their homeworks, the whole thing is usually there to see. So yes, I don't imagine that would be a problem, answering your question specifically.
Thank you, gentlemen. In my personal opinion, I just think that if you want to do business, first of all, ask who?
Well, I mean, I disagree, right?
Yes.
What happens, especially when it comes to technology, is that a lot of times innovation, precedes regulation. Regulation catches up with innovation afterwards.
Okay. So now Instagram is asking the subscription service to be. How's that going to play out?
I mean, I think it's interesting because there are businesses doing that already in the US. So Cameo, even in other emerging markets, we start seeing people, subscribing to as a fan of, let's say, whiskey, for instance, and then of course whiskey that's deliberate, but then creating content for those kind of people. Right now, he's saying that people will be able to subscribe to their, to their creators, to their, all the, the skits that we are enjoying for free now. You might have to subscribe to some of these creators because they are doing a lot of work to ensure that they bring those content up. And then, of course, it means that there's now a paid relationship between the creator and, of course, the consumers, which makes, everything, work better for everyone involved. And I see, I mean, it's in its initial phase now. They're just testing it out. I see this being successful because Cameo is successful. And I can look at that parallel and draw it and can say straight path to Instagram because Instagram has more followers, more creators on it than any other platform, than most other platforms. Aside from TikTok.
You tell me. Victor, let's talk about Telecom as we begin to wrap up. So Telecom is doing this fundraising, encouraging tech firms on the African continent, Egypt, Morocco, elsewhere. Is this really encouraging for you folks in the tech space?
It is. I mean, more money is always good. There's a ton of more innovations, a ton of people trying to build solutions.
You guys had $5 billion last year. You tell me big money is good. Yes, I know.
Oh, big money is good. Big money. More money is always good. I mean, it helps the process of, building stuff. Building a startup is always hard. So, the more monies there are, the easier it makes it to some extent. So, to answer your question, yes.
Okay. So, how much are you guys looking for this year? Expansion and all of that. $5 billion last year for the tech space. You think we can do 10 this year?
Definitely, we have to double at the minimum, right? And we started seeing the signs early signs already. We've seen $100 million by Trade Depot announced just this year. We've seen what's it called? This AI company in Morocco announced another $150 million raised this year. So it's just January, right? And we're seeing the signs already. Money is flowing in. So
let me be the first to know where you guys are making money. Thank you so much, Fisayo Drojaye here in our Lagos studios and Victor Ekwalo Jr. in our Abuja studios. Thank you both. Enjoy your weekend. You're watching the Global Business Report here on Arise News.